Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome once again to IAG Live. And I'm still here in Ohio, be here one more day. Tomorrow, actually Saturday my time, I'm flying down to Florida, but still here on the in northeast corner of, sort of the northeast corner of the US for another day. And no doubt we have. Well, I'm not no doubt, I know for a fact we have in the studio our intrepid studio producer, Oscar Guiaro. Come on in. Oscar,
Hey,
how are you?
fine. You?
Very good. There's that familiar background of the office there with the fridge behind you. Is your lunch in the fridge, Oscar?
No. I will go back home or maybe eat around.
Maybe eat around. Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, very good. And how's the weather there? Must be getting hot.
Wow, very hot, and it's today we are expecting like 36 Celsius degrees. So
Oh,
very
wow,
fire.
36. Okay. Yeah, it's been nice here too. I was here in February and there was snow, sort of, 3, 4 foot high snow. And now it's very pleasant. It's like 20, 22, 23. Just
Very
nice.
jealous.
Beautiful blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. It's absolutely fantastic here.
Genuinely jealous. You made me now.
No humidity, none
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Oh
So
my
nice.
God. Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'll be back over there in your part of the world soon enough. I'll be there in a few weeks. So see you soon, Oscar. All right, we better go bring in Ben. Why don't we bring in managing editor, Ben Blashke? Come on in, Ben. How are you, Ben?
Hey, Andrew, I'm going well.
The fish.
The fish is back.
How come sometimes you're on one side, sometimes you're on the other side? Is it something to do with the time of day or the sun or something?
It depends on how I have this very technical setup of my laptop sitting on a box here, Andrew, so I can easily relocate it as required.
The set, it all looks very fancy from the front, but if anyone was ever to get a camera and to look around us, I think they would realize it's all very primitive. Oh, there you go. You flipped it. You're using the mirror.
I did.
You did it, did you, Oscar? Are you trying to get Ben's best side? Is that what it is? You're trying to get his like
I didn't know we had that function, but we have it. We can mirror it and flip. So
okay. I don't think Ben's got a best side.
That's right. They're all equally brilliant.
Yes, no, this podcast or whatever the hell you want to call it is certainly not here for its good looks amongst the participants. That's for sure. All right, Oscar. See you later. We'll get started. See ya.
See ya, bye.
What's been going on with you, Ben, this week? There's been quite a lot of news this week, hasn't there?
Yeah, a lot of very big news. I mean, obviously, we saw the Caesars acquisition announced earlier in the week, and of course, we've got the MGM news as well, and we'll get onto that very shortly to talk about. But yeah, no shortage of pretty big news stories.
It's actually quite good. I'm in the US at the moment because there's a lot of news over here in the US. So I've been talking to various contacts over here. It's funny, even if you're in a different city, just simply the fact that you're in the US, you're talking to somebody in a different city, that it feels closer. I'm a big believer in being on the ground. You've actually got to travel and be close to these people. We'll talk about my travel at the end of the broadcast, but I'm going down to Florida on Saturday, so that'll be interesting. Going down to various, quite a few things down there, but we'll talk about that later. Let's get into the news of the week. So, what do we got first, Oscar? Well, this is a nice picture of Hubert there. This was Macau's worst kept secret, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've been hearing about this for a couple of months, actually, Andrew. Pretty much ever since Hubert departed MGM, there was talk of Sands China. So that was obviously confirmed officially at the end of last week. And obviously Hubert, after I think it was about 13 years with MGM, so a long stint there. He's obviously played a big role in MGM China over the years, and he's going back to, I guess, where a lot of it began for him in Macau, Sands China. He worked there for the opening of the Venetian many years ago, Andrew.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't know that Hubert's already had a stint at Sands, so he's no stranger to Sands. Oh yeah, 3,700 views there. Nice, popular story. And yes, it's been long rumored that Hubert would be going to Sands, and this, I guess, is kind of a little bit in keeping with the narrative that we sort of saw back as far back as Rob Goldstein, sort of almost, I don't know if complaining is the right word, but kind of complaining about the performance of Sands in Macau, obviously not Singapore, which is just a golden goose. But sort of lamenting, I guess, would be the best word, that Sands and Macau hadn't been doing better. And then that's a bit of a theme. And there's been some changes in the senior leadership at Sands. So they're obviously trying to sort of shake things up a little bit there at Sands. Grant Chum as CEO, trying to bring in some changes. And I'm sure Patrick Dumont taking over as CEO and chairman of Las Vegas Sands has had something to say. And of course, Hubert was at Marina Bay Sands as well in the early days of Marina Bay Sands. Yeah, so this is sort of a continuation of that narrative, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, as you say, Andrew, plenty of changes. Of course, on the property level, they've recently completed the revamping of the London and Macau, the former Sands Cotai Central, into the London and Macau, and they announced fairly recently that they'll be moving on, and they have started work on the Venetian now. The Venetian, of course, is now 19 years old, so certainly probably in need of a bit of a refresh. So they've started work on across the Venetian on many of the hotel rooms and other facilities. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is part of Sands just realising that it's time to not only refresh the team, but refresh the properties and bring themselves back up to the gold standard.
Yeah, so that COO role has been vacant at Sands for quite some time. They've had a CEO, of course, but to have it as COO, so Hubert stepping into that role will be very interesting to see. Hubert, a great friend of IAG's, he's a lovely man, and we wish him well back at Sands. All right, well, maybe he can bring some of that MGM magic to Sands, because hasn't MGM done well since the end of the pandemic? They've risen up to be a pretty clear number 3. Or in the mix anyway for number 3, as opposed to being a pretty consistent number 5 as they were pre-pandemic. So some of that MGM magic perhaps can come over to Sands. All right, what's next, Oscar? Macau GGR up 7% year on year. That's not bad given the mature market.
Yeah, pretty solid result for Macau. This again exceeded most forecasts of more around about 5%. It's been, again, a pretty strong start to 2026 for Macau's operators. We will talk, I think the next story might be looking at the road ahead from here, when the forecasts are for things to sort of settle down a little bit. But it's been about a year now, Andrew, that Macau's really boomed and really taken off post-COVID, and it's another strong result in the month of May.
Yeah, well, when you say post-COVID, I mean, I think it's a second kick post-COVID, isn't it? I mean, we started early 2023, January the 8th, I believe, was the magic day. Or was it the 8th? Yeah, I think it was the 8th. And there's been a second kick now. I saw that we've got a story coming up later about the decrease in spend, which is really more about the changing nature of visitation than a decrease in spend. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But Macau going gangbusters, and as we've mentioned before, we'll mention it again, no real junket commissions to worry about too much. So that's the GGR not quite back to the high watermark in 2013, which was 45 billion, but we're running at, what are we going to run at this year? 33, 34? Something like that?
Somewhere around that mark. Yeah, we were just over 30 last year, and certainly growth is expected to be 4, 5, 6% this year. So, just creeping up to the 32, 33 mark.
maybe 32, 33, which is, people might say, well, that's only two-thirds of, or just a little over two-thirds of 45, but it's a lot more profitable than the 45 ever was, because there was no need for that traditional 40-40-20 split on junket, 40% for the government, 40% for the junket holder, 20% for the casino. It's now 40-60. So 40% for the government and 60% for the casino. So, and also the costs are a lot more under control as well. They learned how to control their costs during COVID, understandably as well. All right, what's next, Oscar? Well, this is the story that I alluded to. Spend per visitor struggles to keep up. Isn't it interesting how, even we've put spend per visitor struggles to keep up, but I really think that is not necessarily about spend per visitor. The changing nature. It's about the changing nature of the visitors. It's not about the changing behavior of those individual visitors. Just less VIP, really huge VIP, and a lot more sort of flag followers and middle class who may not be spending, 1,000 mop on something. They may be spending 500 mop on it or something like that, Ben.
Yeah, I think you're right, Andrew. We've seen the visitation this year really soar. I think we hit 40 million last year, but we're looking at over 45 million this year. And a lot of those are not gaming customers. They're genuine tourists. So as you say, flag followers coming in for the day to look around and sort of see the sights. And they're obviously not going to spend anything on gaming. So that sort of brings the gaming spend right down across those 45 million on average. So I think, as you say, that's the trend we're seeing. And also, Andrew, we've spoken before about the fact that, just because, visitation can keep rising, but there's still a limited number of hotel rooms in Macau. There's still, infrastructure concerns around that and how you build on that gaming spend without the hotel rooms to put players in for overnight stays. So I think that all plays into this overall conversation around the nature of the visitation at the moment.
Yeah, 45,000 hotel rooms in Macau, and that's quite a low number when you look at Las Vegas being around 155, 160, depending on how you count it. So that's an issue. Of course, some hotel rooms in Hengqin, and of course, Macau, also a place that does lend itself to day visitation. You can sort of nick over from Hong Kong or nick over from Zhuhai for the day and then go back late at night. Whereas a place like Las Vegas is a little bit harder to do that. I mean, I suppose you can fly in from LA and fly back late at night, or even drive, but it's a much longer drive. It's harder to do a day trip to Vegas than it is to Macau, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all popped across to China for the day and popped back many times, Andrew, and obviously flying into Hong Kong and popping across to Macau is often generally the way that I get there as well. So, as you say, it's the nature of Macau and the location of Macau.
So I think isn't the average stay down to 1.1 now? Didn't I see that at the last DSEC numbers? It's actually gone down. They're trying to get it up. It's actually gone down. But it's not really the average stay is 1.1. I think the average stay of people who do stay is like 2 or 2.2 or 2.3. But there's so many people who it's 0. They don't stay even one night.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I guess it'd be 0.7 or something, wouldn't it? Average stay would be something like that for a...
Well, average number of nights. So if you don't, average number of nights is 0 if you don't stay overnight. But yeah, I guess the average stay 1.1. Yeah, I suppose that does take that into account, doesn't it? Yeah, average number of nights. Well, you got to stay one night if you're going to stay overnight. Can't be any lower than 1. Yeah. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? So they're yours neck of the woods. Star's finally got some money in the bank. Gee, they probably needed this quite badly. That last 100 million was probably dwindling away.
I mean, probably good news for Star that they haven't been in the news very much recently. It's been a little bit quiet from them, obviously working away behind the scenes and getting things done. And this has been the big ticket item for them. There are a couple of conditions precedent to all of this happening, and I believe one of those was selling off their 50% stake in Brisbane. That's all been, I don't think it's actually been fully finalised, but it's all been locked away and is underway. So the refinancing has been confirmed. This is pretty important for Star in the short term to reduce their interest payments, just get everything locked away under a single refinancing deal. and all part of this goal from Bally's Corp and Investment Holdings to, first of all, just settle down the finances of the company, got all that put behind them so they can start to focus. I guess the next step will be focusing on that license, getting that license back. And then after that, they can really start to focus on operations.
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of slowly getting there, aren't they? Like you say, it's good that they're not in the news, although didn't they get a $10 million fine from NICC? But I mean, what's 10 million between friends? I'm sure you and I would love to have 10 million in our back pockets, but relatively small compared to what potentially, well, I guess the Austrac thing is probably a big ticket item for them. Still waiting on that. But sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was just going to say that, yeah, there's still some things to tick off. But I mean, I note that Sue Kim mentioned when Bally's took control of Star that, you know, one of the things he wanted to do was, after selling the 50% stake in Brisbane, to lock in a deal with the Hong Kong partners that Star would continue running that property, because originally they were going to look for a new operator. Well, he's managed to do that. So there's no doubt that Sue Kim and Bally's are ticking boxes along the way. They've still got more boxes to tick. But so far, I think they've pretty much done everything they said they wanted to do. And I'm sure there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that we'll find out about at a later date as well.
I'm sure it's a bit like a duck on the pond. You know, it's calm on the top and paddling like mad underneath. But it doesn't have a feel. I mean, you and I've been in this game a long time now, and you sort of get a sense of the feel of these things. Doesn't it feel different to before, under all those different boards and all that different rubbish that was going on? Remember all that second inquiry, third inquiry, and secret text messages, and, you know, going to war, and all of that seems to have gone, and it seems to be like a genuine casino operator now in control. I think part of the problem was you didn't have casino people running casinos. You know, casino people became toxic in Australia, and, you know, if you were running a casino, the last thing you were allowed to be was a casino operator. You had to be from the insurance industry or the banking industry, or or Lend-Lease as one was. But now we've actually got casino people running a casino, and they just seem to be hunkering down and doing what needs to be done, what seems very obvious to us, and what Crown did. So it seems like Star has settled down and gone, right, let's go through the process of what we need to do. Yes, it's going to take a while. So stem the bleeding. You know, he got rid of a lot of people, got the corporate office down, got rid of that fat there. And seems to be, I'm sure he's talking to the regulator behind the scenes, and they're just getting through they wanted to try to not have to sell that 50% to the two Hong Kong companies for Gold Coast. But the reality is that was already a done deal before he came in. So he had to go through with it. He didn't want to go through with it, but he did. He's accepted that. He's done it. Move forwards. It just feels, Bally's has its fans and it has its detractors here in the US. I've spoken to a lot of people here in the US about Bally's. It's a little bit of a controversial company in some respects. I don't think that's bad. I don't say that in a bad way either. They're an active company is perhaps a way to say it. You know, they don't mind doing things, and they do things a little bit differently. And perhaps that's exactly what Star needed.
Well, I mean, the fact is Star didn't have any other options. I mean, Bally's was literally last chance saloon, wasn't it? They'd exhausted every other option, and Bally's sort of came in with I think what you'd say might end up being a great deal for Bally's at I think $200 million investment from them is pretty good if they can turn his company around. So, you know, Star as a company had no choice but to accept that deal. Now, if Bally's can do what they're planning to do, and as you say, they seem to be making positive strides forward, it could work out well for everybody involved.
Yeah, well, the main thing is you stem the bleeding on expenses, I guess. Still losing money, but not. I'm sure probably not losing as much as before, and that'll turn around. Over time. Now he's got this 400 million, or will shortly have this 400 million in the bank, which they really desperately needed. I mean, they've been running on fumes for years, Star. So very interesting to see what happens long term. And of course, I will be down there in Sydney for AGE. I'll come and meet with you, and we'll go to AGE in August. I usually spend a week. I usually stay at Crown, actually. Spend a week down there because at Crown Sydney down there. But I'm sure we'll meet some people at Star. It's been hard to meet people at Star in the past, hasn't it? There's nobody really left, nobody that we know. But this time it will be different. We'll know people from Bally's and be able to sit down with some ops people and actually go and have a beer in the place and take a look. Have you been there recently, Ben?
Not for a while, no. But I mean, quite interesting is that Star recently let go of a heap of people, including their poker team. But they've just bought those same poker team back on a 6 month contract basis to run some events. So I guess that's sort of part of the restructuring is cut first and then start to figure out what can I bring back and how can we reorganize this to make things run more smoothly. So that's just one interesting little example of a few of the things that I know are happening at Star at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, a healthy Star is good for the industry. As we've always said, competition is great for the consumer. Just look at Las Vegas. Just look at well, Vegas is a whole kettle of fish. Perhaps that's not the greatest example right now, but just look at Macau. Okay, and look at the Philippines. We've got Manila as well. A competitive environment is good for the consumer. So it's good that we have a healthy Star is good for Sydney in competing with Crown. Anyway, enough on Star. Let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Our friends over at La Vie are getting on with it. All right, this is all yours, Ben.
Yeah, so this is a story that we've been covering for a while now, ever since it was announced that DigiPlus had agreed a subscription agreement to subscribe to a little bit over 50% worth of the shares in International Entertainment Corp, which of course is the parent company of La Vie Resort and Casino. So that was issued in two tranches. The second tranche was locked in during the week. So now DigiPlus is sitting on subscription shares that, should they convert them all, and I believe they will at some stage, they will own more than 50% of International Entertainment Corp and therefore more than 50% of La Vie. And of course, Andrew, we were at La Vie very recently for our MAD in April, which was a great event. Okay. And a lot of work going on at that property, a bit of a transformation still underway, planning to finish that by the end of the year. So yeah, quite interesting on many fronts, this story. A, because of what it means for the property La Vie. B, because of what it means for DigiPlus, obviously an online operator, the leading online operator in the Philippines, but also looking to diversify into the land-based segment as well.
Yes, this is great for DigiPlus and probably pretty good for IEC too, to be honest. And we've got all those properties, those land-based properties that we've been covering for years, moving into the online sector and trying to wrap their head around online. Well, here's a company doing it the other way around, experts in online trying to wrap their head around running an integrated resort. And as you say, we had the Manila After Dark event there in April, which was fantastic. And our very own Chief of Staff, Scott Messenger, is heading over to the Philippines next week to spend some time with people over there. I believe he's meeting some people at La Vie while he's over there as well. So it's great to see our friends at La Vie doing well. And it's a little bit different to the other integrated resorts, isn't it? Because it's not in the entertainment city. It's up there in Malate at New Coast, what we used to call New Coast Hotel. Is it still called New Coast Hotel, the hotel?
It is, yes.
It is, yeah. So when there's no traffic, as there wasn't when we were there in April, because the fuel prices in the Philippines had gone up, so everybody was staying home. It's only 20 minutes drive up from Entertainment City up to La Vie. So look, we wish them well. They're trying. You got to encourage a company that has a go, and they're having a go. These guys, they've taken an old property, bought it off Padcore, committed to 1.2 billion or 1 billion US overall to convert it into an integrated resort. DigiPlus has come along. Bit of a story, quite interesting to see them kind of trying to pull them, bootstrap up an integrated resort, basically, bootstrap it rather than doing what, say, a Soler did or what Mr. Adelson did or something like that. They're kind of grinding. It's a bit like the IAG style, kind of grinding our way up from nothing, which is interesting to see them do. And some of the stuff, I mean, it was really good, the MAD event there, wasn't it? They really turned it on for us, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, we've got that pretty impressive lobby area, which was where the event was held. We've got those 4 LED pillars, which are real eye catchers. So, they're working on the property, and we walked through the casino, and parts of that had been renovated, parts of that were still undergoing renovation. Same with the hotel rooms. So I'll be very interested to see, once this property is fully converted to an integrated resort, I'll be very interested to have a look at the finished product.
Yeah, hard to do a full renovation of a property while keeping it open, and that's what they're trying to do. So, good on the team there at La Vie. And Good guys there too. Good team members there. They worked with us really well. All right, okay, let's move on. What's next? Well, maybe this is mine to talk about since I'm over here and I've been talking to people. About this quite a lot. Quite interesting. So we had the Caesars. What was it? Nearly 17.6 billion or something from Tillman Fertitta, which is by no means a done deal. They've Caesars have got a shop around clause, I think they call it, till July. It's not a done deal yet, but there was this big offer to acquire Caesars for roughly 18 billion. And all of a sudden, in the wake of that, just a few days later, Barry Diller turns up and says, well, how about we take MGM private? MGM Resorts, the international company, of course. So Barry Diller is a lot of our viewers might not know Barry Diller. So People Inc., I might think, well, what the hell is People Inc.? That's actually People Magazine. Originally, so he's a media and originally sort of a media guy. He was chairman and CEO of Fox in the early days. He's always been a disruptor. He's in his 80s. He's been around for a very long time, always been a disruptor, basically turned from sort of traditional media and Hollywood assets. He's actually involved in I think was either the CEO or chairman of Paramount. He was leading Paramount at one stage. So he sort of comes from a Hollywood background, and then he has rolled that into internet media. So quite interesting. He had a company or still maybe does have a company, IAC, which websites people might know like Expedia, Match.com, Vimeo, Investopedia. They were all part of that group. So he ran Paramount and Fox. Then he turned to internet. So he's always been a disruptor and sort of a person who looks forward and looks ahead at what the opportunity in the future is. So they currently own actually about 26. There he is. Currently own around 26% of MGM. He's on the board right now. He's been on the board of MGM for about 5 years. So when his company started ramping up its ownership of MGM Resorts, he got a position on the board, as I think did one other of his executives. So basically, they've said, look, we'd like to take our 26% to 50.1% so we can get control. This is all about control. And if he does, then the remaining 49.9 would be privately held. And they would take the company private. And I think all of this is it's a judgment call that casino assets are undervalued right now. This is why we've seen Tillman Fertitta for Caesars, and we're now seeing Barry Diller for MGM. And, to a certain extent, it's also true in the Macau assets as well. But like Macau, I will get to the point in a second, but Macau is doing really well, yet the shares are not really doing very well. The shares are languishing. Why are the shares, which is annoying me because I've got shares in them all, but why are the shares languishing? Well, a couple of reasons. The parents in the US, the 3 US companies are finding ways to suck revenue out of through license fees and various other things to get to repatriate revenue from Macau to the US. That's one reason. But also, I just think casinos are a bit passe in the stock market at the moment. It just seems that it's not flavor of the month for integrated resorts. The private equity companies and the investment community really not that keen on casino companies and integrated resort companies right now. There's been a lot of bad press around Las Vegas in the US here. $12 bottles of water and all this sort of stuff has been going on. So it just seems that the shares are a bit in the doldrums, and therefore opportunistic investors like Barry and Tillman come along and go, well, you know what? I think this is undervalued. And what I think he's thinking is MGM, okay, for all the criticism of MGM right now in the sort of consumer marketplace, in the investment community, in the business community, they're looking at the share price and going, look, this is a really undervalued company. This is a company with great revenue streams, with lots and lots of physical assets across the US. It's not just MGM in Vegas. MGM have got a plethora of properties across the United States. They've got Japan. They've got Macau, and I know we ran stories saying that Japan and Macau might be divested. That I don't know if that's a story coming up. I think it might be, but yeah, there's a real opportunity here. So they're thinking long term, and they're thinking, look, if we can pick this company up now and take control of the company, then it'll be a great asset for the future. So that's sort of his thinking. I mean, this is a guy who's consistently been entrepreneurial and repeatedly reinvented himself over the years, sort of TV and film to internet and publishing. Saw the writing on the wall for legacy media, moved into digital media, and now looking at casinos at the age of 84, I think he is. So, good luck to him. And a little fun fact, some people might not know, he's actually married to Diane von Furstenberg, the fashion designer. They've had a bit of an on-again, off-again relationship, and then eventually married in 2001. So they've been married now for 25 years. So it's sort of a gaming and fashion a combo there. So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting indeed. It remains to be seen whether this will, I mean, he's offered $48 a share, or $48.30, I think it is, but the shares immediately went up in price. They're over 50. They're trading at over 50 at the moment. So that obviously shows that I think, the community, the investment community expects a bigger offer, expects another offer to come through, probably starts with a 5. So let's see what happens. So that's sort of my take on that. I'll be in Las Vegas week after next. Next week I'll be in Florida. The week after I'll be in Las Vegas. And I'll certainly be meeting up with some people and discussing this then.
Will you be putting in a rival bid, Andrew? 19 billion?
Don't think so, Ben. That's just slightly beyond my means. Yes, 15, 16 would be all right, but 19 just a little bit too much. So can't quite match that. No. So anyway, that's our take on that. It'd be interesting to see. And of course, as everyone knows now, we CDC Gaming, our sister company in the US, covering this in great depth, and I'll be meeting with some of the CDC guys in Vegas as well to talk about this as well. So very interesting. All right. So enough on that. Next one. Quite interesting. Oh, there you go. I've talked enough. I'll let you go.
Well, as you mentioned, Andrew, about the what could happen if this deal does go through with People Inc. and MGM Resorts. So just look at a research note by Vitaly Umansky, the senior analyst at Seaport Research Partners. And look, he did quite a detailed look at all the ins and outs of this deal, what might happen if it goes through, what it might really look like. And it was really just a small line that he put in there, looking at the assets that MGM has in Macau and Japan. He noted that the price, the $48.30 price offered, doesn't really seem to fully appreciate the value of MGM China and MGM Osaka, of course, Japan currently being developed due to open in 2030. But he also prophesies that possibly what might happen is that MGM could theoretically divest MGM China. He said that's something that he could see happening potentially, and maybe even Japan. So look, it's just an idea that Vitaly put out there, but I thought that was extremely interesting, and I'd be interested to see the thought processes should Barry Diller and People Inc. take over MGM, how they would view those Macau assets, particularly, Andrew, because as we say, they've been performing so strongly over the past couple of years post-COVID here in Macau. They've been the biggest improver by far, taking their share from about 9.5% to over 16%. So would it be a case of trying to cash in on those assets straight away, or would they see them as even greater value long term? I guess time would tell.
Yeah, probably two things immediately spring to my mind about that. One would be, how cashed up is he, right? Is he factoring that in as part of the process and relying on that cash as part of the overall deal? The second factor would be what I would call the sort of American factor. And remember when Eldorado did the Eldorado Caesars deal a few years back, and Tom Reeg from Eldorado became the CEO of Caesars and said the most foreign thing we're going to have is something in Canada, right? So basically eschewing anything outside of the US. And as many people outside the US know, and even Americans will admit to this, a lot of Americans are very inward looking and don't really look at the rest of the world, don't really see that as a viable asset, or maybe understand it. Maybe they don't think, well, I don't really understand these places. You know, do I have a competitive advantage there? Probably not. Could I make mistakes in those markets because I don't really understand those markets? Maybe. So, I mean, could be a strategy anchored in good sense, actually, in some cases. So, I think that would be the factor as well. You know, how international is Barry Diller? Well, he's married to a woman who's got a very German surname, so maybe I don't really know. I have to do some research. Has he held assets outside of North America in the past? I should know the answer to that, and I don't. But if you look at all the companies that I mentioned before, they're all American companies, aren't they? Fox, Paramount, all those internet sites that I mentioned are very American based. So maybe he might just go, you know, I understand America. Why play in a sandbox that I don't understand, or I don't have the network and the contacts and the relationships in? Let's cut these loose and grab some cash while we can, because he's going to be laden with a lot of debt if this deal goes through. And if you can knock some of that debt off, that would be good. So yeah, that would be interesting. And who would be the acquirer? Then that becomes interesting. Obviously, Oryx in MGM Osaka becomes a name. They already own 40%. And what would come of MGM China? Pansy taking a bigger share, maybe. Offering more just generally on the open market and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Who knows? Interesting stuff on that one. We will continue to watch the story and speculate. All right. What's new? You don't not putting in a bit of your own, Ben?
Sure. Why not? Yeah. You might need to increase my pay 1 million fold, Andrew, so I can afford it.
I don't even think that would be enough. All right.
True.
Well, this is yours. You went up there and had that spectacular round of golf up at Hann.
Yeah, look, this is just a video as well that we posted for our friends at Hann this week, just looking at the eco-luxury side of Hann Reserve. So as you say, Andrew, Jason and I went up there and played a round of golf very recently, and I sat down with Tim Neal, the general manager of Hann Reserve Golf there, and had a lovely chat. So this is a follow-up video that Hann released where they are talking all about the eco-friendly nature of Hann Reserve. And look, I just sort of think people should, I think it's very interesting. I was watching this video again earlier this morning. I think it's worth jumping on and having a look at, talking about how they, how they pick certain types of grass and what that grass does, and how they collect rainwater and try to use rainwater rather than, tapping water out of the reserves to water the grass there. And just really quite interesting on the approach here at Hann Reserve, because they do talk about sustainability being a vital part of this particular development. So yeah, a bit of an insight through this video, which is on IAG at the moment for anybody that wants to take a look.
Yes, just go visit asgam.com, asgam.com. Lovely up there. It looks really peaceful and nice up there. He's doing a good job, Mr. Hann. Just think from his early days at Wheatus, they're the initial property, and then what he's growing up there is fantastic. He's to be congratulated. And just this golf course up there at Hann Reserve that they've got now, just the first of 3, of course, 2 more on the way, and many more things on the way up there at Hann Reserve. So over the coming years, it'll be interesting to watch it roll out. When's it meant to be finished by, Ben?
Well, look, it rolls out in stages. So I think the whole, even the 3 golf courses we're looking at sort of 2028, 2029, I believe. But post that, there's the whole residential side and cabanas and different things you can buy. So that's sort of more of a long-term thing. But what we're seeing at the moment, I think by the end, the clubhouse was just about done when I was there. It's a pretty spectacular clubhouse. If you walk in, you get great views out over 2 of the golf courses, and to the right you've got a massive deck where you can sit there and relax and watch things go on. There's beautiful change rooms downstairs. There's a restaurant space just downstairs to the right, quite expansive. And then if you go out onto the course, there's sort of a halfway stop, a halfway house that's not the right word, is it? Halfway house, but there's a
You're thinking about earlier times, Ben.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That's it right there. So you stop there on your journey halfway through your round, stop and have a refreshment, have a drink, cool down a bit because it's pretty warm there up at Hann Reserve there in New Clark City, and continue on with your round. So, yeah, very impressive. And I think that, once all the grass bed's in, and there's still a bit of work going on around it, but, give it a year or so, I think it'll be pretty spectacular there.
Yeah, well, anybody in Manila, it's only a couple of hours to get up there, or even less sometimes. So, we would encourage people to go up there and visit Hann. And of course, you can fly into Clark Airport a hell of a lot easier than flying to Manila as well. So, and there are plenty of flights from Korea and many other areas around. I think even they fly to Dubai from. I remember last time I was at Han, I saw all the Emirates flight attendants. I was chatting to them. They fly directly to Dubai from Clark, which is fantastic. So yes, Ben. So all right, we'll leave that story in Ben's halfway house and move on to the next one. Yes, so our good friend Alejandro Tenco, the chairman and CEO of Padcore, airing some concerns about Philippines GGR. The whole Middle East thing, the whole thing about the cost of fuel, it seems to be quite a big issue in the Philippines, perhaps a little bit bigger than it is in other countries, Ben.
Yeah, so as you say, Andrew, the chairman spoke to some local media this week and spoke about this very topic about the GGR, the trajectory that we're seeing at the moment. And obviously, there are a few reasons why it's a little bit challenging in the Philippines at the moment for the industry, particularly in Manila, but the Middle East conflict being the one that he really highlighted. And that's really because, that casual spend that you've got, players might spend on, a bit of entertainment, a bit of gaming, is now living expenditure because cost of living has gone up so much. As you said, Andrew, when we travelled up to Levi in April and travelled around Manila for some meetings, the traffic was nowhere near as difficult as it usually is because not as many people on the road because petrol is so expensive there and hard to get. So I think that's also what we're seeing here in the Philippines, is that's impacting just that casual entertainment spend by people. It's you put that on top of what we've seen with the high end in Manila as well, in the VIP segment. It's a little bit of a tough time for the integrated resorts there.
Yep. I think there's much more to be said about that. I mean, you can't have a top year every year, so a bit tough for them. But I bet it's not the end of the world. I think that fundamentally, the Philippines is still very sound, and good times are still ahead for the Philippines. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Well, you know all about this one.
Yeah, look, this has been an ongoing saga at Ainsworth for a while now. Obviously, this came out this morning. This was a filing by Ainsworth this morning that their chairman, Danny Gladstone, and company secretary, Mark Ludsky, have stepped down. Now, this really relates back to the ongoing fight between one of the shareholders, of course, Co-Rolf Ainsworth, and the controlling shareholder, Novomatic. We've reported on it extensively. From both sides of what's been going on across this battle over the past 12 months. Co-Rolf Ainsworth, who I interviewed last week, spoke extensively about his concerns around the governance of the company. Particularly one of the issues that was raised and was initially reported in the Australian Financial Review about 2 or 3 months ago was $15 million worth of payments to Gladstone and Ludsky from Len Ainsworth in 2018, which was when Len sold his 52% stake, roughly, I think it was, to Novomatic at that time. And there have been questions from Len's son, Co-Rolf, as to what those payments were for. Now, we're not alleging they were for anything nefarious about those payments, but the questions have been asked. And it was mentioned by Ainsworth in the announcement this morning that one of the reasons that Gladstone and Ludsky stepped down, in fact, the main reason, is because there have been all these questions circulating and they really want Ainsworth to be able to focus on moving the company forward. So they have stepped down. And Andrew, I think that this is a pretty big result from everything that's been happening, but I suspect there's a lot more to come as well for Ainsworth moving forward in this battle for control.
Yes, and meanwhile, while the attention is focused on politics and company boardroom machinations, that's the word, boardroom machinations. They're not focusing on actually running the business. Well, I'm sure they are. Some people are, but you want a business to be not really be focused on boardroom machinations. You want it to be focused on revenue and profit. So anyway, and I think this saga, as you say, I think this saga is going to continue for some time. So, all right, what's next, Oscar? That might be the last one, is it? It is indeed the last one. So you can see on the ticker going along the bottom of the screen there, the upcoming events. Oh, that's good timing. It's just coming across now. June 9-11 SBC Summit Americas at Fort Lauderdale. So I'll be going down to, I'm actually going down to Tampa on Saturday. Going to go visit Hard Rock at Tampa, which is one of America's most profitable integrated resorts. You don't hear so much about it because it's not listed. It's the Seminole Tribal Gaming, but the Hard Rock property there. And then I'll be heading over to Fort Lauderdale from Tampa, about 4-hour drive through the Everglades to SBC Americas. We went to, both Corey and myself went to, our COO, Corey Roberts, of course, went to SBC Canada in Toronto a couple of weeks ago. Or was it just a week ago? I can't remember. And then next week it'll be it must be a couple of weeks ago. Next week it's SBC Americas. The SBC dates have changed around a little bit because of the World Cup here in North America. So we'll be going down there and visiting that and Fort Lauderdale. And then I'm going to a World Cup game in Houston on my way through to Vegas, and then Vegas the week after. So we're about 10 days actually in Vegas, and then seeing an Australia World Cup game in San Francisco, or more accurately Santa Clara. Australia are playing one of our old nemesises. Is that a word? Nemesi? I don't know. How do you say that word? The plural of nemesis. Paraguay on, well, I think it's the 20-something. Well, you've got a visitor, have you, Ben? Your assistant's arrived.
Yeah, she has.
Your canine assistant.
Right.
Yes. And then on the way back to Manila, I'll be spending a week in Manila, and then back to Macau, of course, for our July 7 MAD, which we still actually haven't announced. We're waiting on something to announce that. It's all ready to go. We must announce that next week, Ben, because it's not that far away. July 7 MAD, and then it's IAG Expo, and we should talk about the IAG Expo. Next week is the opening of the awards, public call for candidates. We're just organising that now, and from Monday, people will be able to nominate candidates. The public call for candidates. People get confused every year. These aren't the official nominations. This is just our open slather public call for candidates. I think, and that's open till, when is that open till, Ben? Do you remember off the top of your head? Because I
believe it's open till early August, I think, Andrew, from memory.
Early August. So yeah, almost 2 months. Yep. And then we whittled that down to the official nominations, and the process continues from there. So go visit iagexpo.com and navigate your way to the, I think it goes Expo Awards nominations. And from next week, you'll be able to nominate in some 27 categories, I think it is up to now.
Yeah, we've got some, we've made a few changes this year, Andrew, to our categories. We'll be announcing our categories on Monday as well, at the same time as we launch our public call for candidates. And we've made a few changes. I can say that we've added in a couple of categories around the iGaming sector, because obviously there is that convergence in the Philippines between land-based and iGaming. So we felt that it was appropriate to add in a couple of categories that reflect that, because there are many companies that are involved in both of those sectors. So all of those categories will be announced on Monday. Definitely worth a look, and we encourage every company out there in industry to take a look and ideally submit some nominations. I'm sure there'll be some interesting competition out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very heavily patronized. I mean, we usually get a few hundred nominations every year, 300-400 something nominations, public nominations, and then we whittle them down to the official nominations, which are usually somewhere around 100 for around 25 categories. I think it might be 27 this year. We've got those iGaming categories, and of course we've always also got the ever popular people categories, rising stars and industry icons, and then we finish the night with one industry legend, and that will of course be a fantastic black tie gala dinner on Tuesday, September the 15th in Manila. So make sure you've got a seat for that. It's going to be a sellout, as it always is every year. It's going to be a great night. And the IAG Expo, September 14 to 17. It's growing, hasn't it? We've got the CIG Idea Summit for iGaming on the Monday, the 14th. Then the MAD that night on the 14th. The 2 days of the summit on the 15th and the 16th, with the awards on the night of the 15th. And we've even got the Regulators Forum, Invitation Only Regulators Forum on the 17th, on the Thursday. No formal large-scale exhibition this year because of ASEAN being held in the Philippines. They need the space for the president, so the president tipped us out. But next year, of course, it will be back 100%, the IAG exhibition as well. So, all right, well, that's it. What's your weekend plans, Ben? Last weekend, it was at you were off having wine.
Yeah, I was in the Hunter Valley last weekend. A lot quieter weekend this weekend, Andrew. I actually have no plans at this stage. So, a bit of a chance to relax and get a few things done.
You'll be in the club at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, bopping away, Ben. I can see it now. All right, well, have a good weekend, everyone. In all seriousness, thanks for your support, and we will see you next time on IAG Live. Have a great time, and it's bye for now. See you. I'll say bye, Ben.
Bye, Ben.